Assalamu alaikum, friend of faith, all praise be to Allah, the Lord of hosts. Shalawat and greetings poured out to our Prophet Muhammad, his family, and his companions. Being the inhabitants of paradise is the desire of every human being, considering that only two places will be eternal dwellings, namely paradise and hell. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also given an overview in the Quran about the pleasures of God's paradise. If a wife prays 5 times, fasts in Ramadan, maintains her behavior, obeys her husband, it will be said to her, "Go to paradise." Narrated by Ahmed. In this case, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does promise heaven to his servants who obey his commands. In general, Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya in the book of Al-Fawaid mentions some of the properties that the inhabitants of paradise have. They are the ones who came back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From sin to obedience, from complacency to being awake. In Islam, women are highly glorified. In fact, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam once said that there are a number of women who have a leading position in heaven. And if you desire paradise, then look at the following characteristics of the women of paradise. One, keep the prayer 5 times. Performing the 5-time prayer is obligatory for Muslims. Indeed, performing obligatory prayers does not guarantee a person to enter paradise. But this is one of the practices that can launch every step towards heaven. If a woman always keeps the 5-time prayer, also fasts a month in Ramadan, protects herself from adultery, and obeys her husband, then it is said to her, "Enter paradise through any door you like." Narrated by Ahmed, valid. 2. Obey Allah and his husband. A Salihah woman must also fully believe in angels, books, apostles, the day of resurrection, and his qada and qada. If a woman is married, then she is required to obey her husband. If her husband leaves, then he will guard her honor and her husband's property. And when her husband came home, he was greeted with words and good manners. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "A woman's jihad is to obey her husband and decorate himself for him." By fulfilling this first requirement, there will be an easier way for women to enter paradise. Three. Women who are shy. Muslim women who are knowledgeable will decorate themselves with shame when and wherever they are. With his knowledge, he was able to cultivate his heart so as not to be mired in subhats and temptations that can eliminate the good in him. His speech sanitize her awake with quality speech, and zikrullah and shame still decorated. For protecting yourself from adultery. For those who want to be the inhabitants of paradise, it must always guard themselves from adultery. The prohibition to approach adultery has been explained unequivocally by Allah in the following verses. And do not approach adultery, for it is an abomination, and an evil way. QS Al-Isra, verse 32. In accordance with the Hadith, in addition to performing prayer as fardu, women must also guard themselves from adultery before he marries. 6. Always take care of family disgrace. In Islam, disgrace is something that must be covered and should not be spread, let alone disseminated. Self-disgrace, couple disgrace, to family disgrace should always be maintained and covered as best as possible. Surely, women who are good at covering up the disgrace of husbands and family disgraces are much loved by God. A woman who is good at guarding disgrace, her reward is paradise. That is if some of the characteristics of the woman whom paradise misses. Hopefully this knowledge is conveyed, can be useful in improving our gaira living this life, and preparing the real life in the hereafter. Amin ya Rabbal Alamin. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.